Hi guys, in this video we will try Question Petra from the March-June 23 exam sitting, and we are looking at part E, which is on corporate governance, deficiencies and recommendations. So I will show you how to answer such questions in order to score full marks in section B. Okay, here is the question, and we're looking just at part E, which is on corporate governance. As you can see, it says describe 3 corporate governance deficiencies, 3 of them, faced by Petra, and provide a recommendation to address each deficiency. So 3 deficiencies, 3 recommendations, 6 marks in total. So 3 pairs, 6 points, 3 pairs. And we've got the table. The table normally has more lines because you know what these questions are like. They ask you about a number of deficiencies or audit risks, and normally or control weaknesses, whatever, direct controls. Normally in the scenario there is more than the required number. And let me remind you, the way we're going to do it, we'll read the whole scenario that relates to it, and we'll put in our table all the points we find, then we'll choose the easiest, and we'll explain those. So before we start, let's remind ourselves of what we should be looking for. We already know 6 minutes, 6 marks means 12 minutes. But for each deficiency, if we want to make sure we score a full mark, we have to say what the deficiency is, so what the weakness is, and also we have to say why this could be bad for the company. Don't forget to say why, because that could mean an easy half mark gone down the drain. For the recommendation, simply we need to suggest some action by the company, and that is in order to become compliant with some principles, with corporate governance principles, okay? Depending on what principle we see in the scenario. Now let's start looking and copying into our answer the points we find. Just this part of the scenario, so the company has been listed for 6 years and they know they have to be compliant with corporate governance, so the audit team is reviewing whether they're compliant or not. This paragraph has nothing for us, nothing to extract into the answer. Second one, the board of Petra is appropriately comprised of executive and independent non-executive directors. So ETS and NETS, the board is balanced. We know that should be the case. That is the case. We don't take it into our answer. The chair is planning to retire at the end of the financial year, and it is proposed by the nomination committee. Fine, they have a nomination committee, which is good. That the current marketing director is appointed into this role. Ooh. And that a new marketing director is recruited. Now, what do you think about this, guys? Do you like it? Because I personally think that this is not something I want to happen in the company. So they've got the marketing director who is an executive director, and this person is going to become the chair. So we found the weakness. And we're going to put a little heading here, chair, then we copy and paste into our answer the weakness we have found. Remember, at that stage we don't want to start explaining yet, because we want to get all of these into our answer, like have a little plan and then choose the ones which are easiest to explain those ones first. So we got one in, and that's already given us half a mark. We keep going. Then we're told that 2 directors are subject to re-election at each annual general meeting. Wait, it's good that there is re-election at every meeting, AGM, but why only just 2 directors? Who should be re-elected? I think you know the answer. Yeah? Should be all of the board. So re-election here, we found that one sentence that follows here actually contains a deficiency too. So we highlight it, we copy it into our answer. Re-election, that's not good enough. Again, we will explain later. Remember, we're just planning at the moment and getting into our answer the things that we could use potentially. Let's keep reading. We found 2 out of the 3. We've got 1 mark already. Now, the NETs are all members of the audit committee, and okay, they're independent, we're told. INETs, that's good. They're highly experienced in the industry in which Petra Co operates. Before joining Petra Co, they were all previously involved in sales or purchasing roles. And that's it. That's all we're told about the audit committee. So what do you think? Is there anything lacking here? I can smell a rat. I'm not sure if you can at that stage, but they were involved in sales and purchasing roles. All purchasing roles, nobody had some recent relevant financial experience. So I'm thinking I will copy and paste that whole thing into my answer as well. Okay, 1 second. Here, highlight and then copy and paste. It's good to highlight, guys, because things stick out. It's not compulsory, of course, to highlight, but if you're like me, you might prefer to have them highlighted. I don't know. Just do what works for you, but definitely copy and paste it into your answer, because this way you very quickly, instead of having to type all of that, or instead of having to say it in your own words, which also is a possibility, of course, you can say it in your own words, but then you risk missing out a key point that must be included, and then you might not score the half mark. So copy paste a quick guaranteed mark like this. Okay, none of them has recent relevant financial experience. We will explain it later. Next, we are told the level of executive directors' pay is set by the remuneration committee, comprised of independent nets. Well, that's good, isn't it? We know that there should be a remuneration committee that is responsible for that. But then we are told that the remuneration for the nets is set in the form of an annual bonus based on profit growth over the prior year. Wait a second. Nets are remunerated based on performance, on the profit growth. Is that how it should be? And I hope you're shouting out really loud that no, this is wrong, yeah? Net pay, the pay of the non-executive directors, should be done in a different way. So we copy and paste this into our table. Okay, now we've got everything in. We needed 3 deficiencies. We've got 4. So in the exam, we want to do those 3 which are easiest for us, both to explain why they could be bad, but also to give a recommendation for improvement. Just be aware that even though you've got 4 here, and normally you get half a mark for each that you've copied, if you run out of time and you don't do anything else, you're not going to get 2 marks, because the question is asking for 3 deficiencies, so only 3 of them are going to be marked, okay? So let's see which one is the easiest, and I'm thinking that probably the second one is the easiest, so I'm going to explain this one first. It was that only 2 directors are re-elected, and I need to say why this is bad. So we can say that the directors which are not subject to re-election might become complacent and ineffective, not running the company in the shareholders' best interest. Or something along those lines, yes? So I've just explained why this could be a bad thing, and now I've managed to top up my half mark into a full mark. So what shall we say as a recommendation? What action? Remember, the recommendation is simply an action that the company should take to make sure they are compliant. So all members of the board should be subject to annual performance review and re-election by the shareholders. There's no need to repeat why that should happen. We've already said why it is bad, that they're not subject to re-election. So now we've got here 2 marks already, okay? So which is the next easiest one we want to do? I don't know, how about the audit committee, yeah? So we can say here, there is no INET, independent non-executive director, with recent relevant financial experience, and as such, the committee might struggle with overseeing financial reporting and audit work. There you go. So we have given now an explanation why this could be a problem, why this is a weakness. What's going to be our recommendation? Action by the company. What should the company do? Well, they should recruit an INET, shouldn't they? So recruit an independent non-executive director who has recent relevant financial experience, ideally in audit, yes, to become part of the audit committee. That's it. Yeah, the recommendation is simple. We got 4 marks, 4.5 in fact. So let's make them 6, okay? Shall we go for the chair? So here, where we said that the marketing director is proposed to become the chair, we should say that the MD is an ex-executive director, therefore he is not independent and unlikely to be objective while running the board. This might not be in the shareholders' best interest. Fantastic, okay? So what shall we say? What should the company do to make this become better? Well, should they recruit new marketing director and make the ex-MD the chair, or should it go the other way around? How about a new independent chair should be recruited and the MD could stay in his position subject to re-election, or he can also be replaced by another MD if they really wish so, if he wants to leave, if he doesn't want to be in that role. But that's it, recruit new independent chair. Okay, and that's it. We got 6 marks already. I will do that last point for you just as a bonus point, but remember, you don't have to do 4 out of 3. You can if you wish, if you really have extra time and if you enjoy it, but not before you've done everything else, because you might be missing out on scoring valuable marks somewhere else within your exam. So the net pay, we said the problem is that the nets are paid based on the profit. So we can say this is both unfair, as nets do not deliver the strategy, and as such don't contribute to the profit growth, but it is also dangerous for their objectivity, because knowing that they would be paid based on the profit, they could make decisions which are in their best interest, in the short-term interest, rather than the long-term future of the company. So possible short-termism, we call this. They might decide to do something that will increase the profit, like stop advertising, right? And expenses will be cut down, sales will be still high, but in the long-term future, if the company doesn't advertise, people will stop buying their products and the profit will struggle in the longer-term future. But they could be short-sighted and make such decisions because they're not objective, they just want to get a higher bonus, higher pay. So we've said why this is bad. Now let's give a recommendation, and we would say that the net pay should be determined by the whole board, and it should be based on the net's responsibility and time given to the company, because remember, not all NEDs spend enough time in the company. Some just take part in meetings, others take part in different committees, other NEDs would be supervising the ads to make sure they do run in the shareholders' best interest, the company. So that's how they should be remunerated. And there you go. We actually got 4 deficiencies and recommendations. And that's how we score full marks in the exam. Remember, you can't forget to say the why. The why always goes into something that can affect the objectivity of the NEDs. It could give too much power and make them not run the company in the shareholders' best interest, maybe. Or maybe they can't perform their duties properly. And your recommendation is always something that the company should do in order to become compliant.